brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh. I also want to acknowledge the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. I also want to acknowledge Yahweh Shai. I pray that the Most High blesses this lesson today and gives more deeper understanding of the events of the past, the events that are currently coming on the earth, and the things soon to come. I just wanted to, as I was reading my Dogs of the Conquest book, and then kind of thinking about some of these Christian doctrines, I wanted to make a quick video talking about children and how it's amazing how many of the Gentiles seem to think that if they just say Jesus, that they're of course still going to be raptured away from all the destruction that's about to come on the earth. And that if their children are below a certain age, that they're just exempt from punishment. And I mean, I can understand why people would, especially a lot of Gentiles and these Constantine Christians, would want to believe that because, you know, they love their children, just like we all do. We love our children as well. But when the Most High released the curses on us, our children were not exempt from the horrors that the Gentiles brought to our shores and that they administered to our people over on the other side of the world. So, you know, there is no rapture. There is no, hey, if you're under 13 or 12 years old or 10 years old, you're exempt and you're going to be raptured away from whatever's coming on the earth. The Most High did not do that to his own children. So why people seem to think that he would do that for Gentiles, I have absolutely no idea. Again, I just said another doctrine of men in order for them to be able to live comfortably in their heaven. But I'm going to be getting into just a couple of the passages from Dogs of the Conquest today. And just to let you know that yes, the Most High does love his people. But when we went off and broke the law, statutes, and commandments that he had set up for us, and he had warned us repeatedly, our children went through the curses just as well as we did. They were not exempt from suffering. You know, so like I said, I have no idea why the Gentiles seem to think that they're going to get a pass by saying Jesus or saying I believe in Caesarea. You know. And the Gentiles seem to think that they can protect their children from what's coming on the earth. Let me let you guys in on a little secret, Gentiles. We did too. But when the Most High sent the Gentiles over here, our plans, you know, just fell through. We were not able to protect our children. We could not protect our women. Our women were taken from us, raped, brutalized, just like our children were, just like we were. So to think that, you know, you're going to miss this kind of punishment on your seed is pretty laughable at this point. You know, so if you want to put bunkers, get yourselves all your guns and weapons, get your bug out locations, hoard your gold and silver, get your Bitcoin, none of that's going to save you. Because like I said, none of that saved us. And this is why it's so important for them to not recognize who we are, because with that recognition of who we are and the suffering that we've gone through would then entail them having to go through the same type of punishment, and that's just too much for them to think about. So they just put their fingers in their ears and just say la 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 la, and when we're trying to tell them the truth, because the truth is very unbearable for them to think about. You know, so like I said, we couldn't protect our children. We couldn't protect our women or ourselves. But the thing was, the Most High had given us a certain amount of punishment, and the Gentiles, namely Esau, increased it, went way overboard. So I'm going to give you a couple of passages. I'm going to read a couple of passages from Dogs of the Conquest. This is on page 12, and it's talking about the allotment of natives to work the land, which is actually one of the curses in Deuteronomy 28. It says, after some pursuit and several hangings, a frail peace was established, by which the admiral gave allotments of Indians to Roldan and his men in a system that anticipated the repatriamiento and was to increase continuously the necessity for trained dogs. It provided that the Indians worked the land like serfs for the benefit of their Spanish masters. So this encomienda system from Deuteronomy 28 made it necessary for them to constantly enslave our people, constantly rip families apart, constantly, take kids and give kids and children to different ranches to work for free. All right. Now let's see here. All right, and also the dogs. Here we go. What they did with our children. Okay, and this is some of the examples of what happened with our children, how they treated our children. But the dogs of the conquerors and early settlers were in the main. War dogs as such were trained purposely to relish Indian flesh. Thus, in combat or after a struggle was over, they gorged on the bodies of the victims. Not only was this destruction permitted, it was encouraged, both as an effective maneuver in the cruel process of subjugation and as an economy of war. Also, it was an easy means of providing them food. Sometimes non-combatant Indians, even children, were handed over simply as tasty morsels to voracious hounds. This happened often. So non-combatant natives, even little children, were handed over simply as tasty morsels to voracious hounds. These people didn't look at us as people. They killed us for sport, for fun. And it talks about that as well. And they do the same things today when they're constantly shooting our people down, killing our people. And the people who kill us, the law enforcement, many times can say, well, I was in fear for my life. And they get to walk scot-free because they don't look at our people as having any value. So just like they did back then, they still do the same things today. Let me read that also. This is on page 13 from Dogs of the Conquest. It says, Las Casas commented, the Indians had been treated like dogs, for though the Spaniards did not hesitate to kill 10 or 20 Indians merely as a pastime, either to test their skill with knives or the cutting edge of their swords, but they would not kill a dog for 1,000 Castilians. So they said they had looked at our people as less than dogs. And they do the same things even today. If one of our people gets shot down, they're like, no big deal. But if you commit some kind of a crime against an animal, you could be the worst type of criminal. Like an example of that would be Michael Vick. Same kinds of things. All right. Let me see here. Here's another example of what they did to our children. Dominican priests of Hispaniola to a royal counselor related, for example, how on one occasion some Christians came across an Indian woman with a nursing child in her arms. Since their dog was hungry, they seized the child and tossed it to the dog, who tore it to pieces in the presence of the mother. The priest described how the Christians used natives as beasts of burden, loading them with heavy packs and forcing them to march 60 or 70 leagues without food. The Christians brought along large mastiffs to discourage escape, so that the dogs might not bruise their feet from too much walking. They were borne in hammocks between the shoulders of Indians. If an Indian fled, a dog would catch him and tear out his entrails before the Christians overtook him. For these and similar reasons, dogs were held in greater esteem and valued more highly than Indians. Okay? So again, we were looked at as less than dogs, but they seem to think that if they say Jesus, they don't have to pay. They're not going to have to suffer. This is why these kinds of books and this kind of information is hidden. Because when they realize how our people have been treated and have to have their eyes open to that, it's a very scary proposition. This is why, if the Romans killed Christ and they came over here and they killed, they destroyed the 10 tribes, how can they teach you about him? How can they teach you about the Most High Son? How can they teach you about the Most High? How can they teach you about his word? They did a lot more than just, of course, killed Christ. They also, they said, destroyed our people, destroyed our knowledge and understanding of who we are, destroyed our knowledge of whose land we're on. They've done all that, and they still do it today. But many of our people still turn to them to teach them about their own history, about who they are. And do you really think they're going to tell you the truth? Of course, we know they're not going to. Okay? Let's see here. Let me read one more. And this is kind of showing you about how merciful. That actually dogs were more merciful than the Spaniards, which is a pretty amazing short little story I'm going to read real quick. All right, let me see here. Actually, let me see. Here we go. I'm going to read this other one here. There's so many. There's just so many that we could just get into. All right, I think I found it here. Talking about the harvesting of resources, okay? With the successful close of the conflict in Hugüey, Ovando anticipated progress. Sugarcane was flourishing, and there was evidence of ample supplies of gold. But the harvesting of such resources required labor. Yet neither promises of future rewards in heaven nor mundane gifts of trinkets could induce the Indians to linger in the proximity of the Christians and their ever-present mastiffs. So just like these churches, they give these promises of future rewards in heaven. They were doing that kind of garbage way back then. If, if you do this, if you comply with what we want, you'll be rewarded in heaven. Do you really think these people have some kind of a key to heaven? They have a key, to unlock the door to the Most High? People who did these kinds of things to the people? And that's why at this time, this wasn't working. These promises of future rewards, okay, wasn't working on the natives anymore because they saw the true heart and the true spirit of these people. And they realized that these people aren't godly at all. And no different than now. Except many of our people are still stuck under that spell, thinking that these people are going to be able to teach you about the truth, teach you the way to the Most High. All right, now I'm going to read a quick little story that shows how actually the dogs were more merciful than the than the Spaniards. That's why these Edomites have no spirits, no souls. And that's why to go to them to teach you about the Most High, that's why it's difficult to sit there and look at these people going to churches and letting the enemy who's destroyed you teach you about how to find the Most High. Just like these are the ones who gave you the 80 books. These are the same people who said you can have these books and no more, while they have millions and millions of our books underneath their Vatican hidden away. But we'll take the 80 books and not question that there might be more information that they're hiding. And people sitting here fighting for that. No one of these people have lied about absolutely everything. So check this part out right here. Let's see. Captain Salazar summoned an old Indian woman and placed a fragment of paper in her hands, ordering her, under threat of being cast to the dogs, to carry the paper to the governor. Reasoning that such an errand might provide a means of escape for her. Let me get this real fast. For her people, the woman readily set out on her mission. When she had proceeded but a short distance, the amused soldiers unleashed Becerrio, because that's one of their main dogs, okay, and crying "Tómala," which means take her. They sent the dog in swift pursuit. They assumed, of course, that the animal would overtake her, tear her to pieces, and devour her on the spot. But Salazar had not reckoned with the keen intelligence of the miserable woman, or the human understanding of Basidio. When she beheld the fierce mastiff lunging toward her with bared fangs, she dropped to her knees, and in her own language made a reverent and dramatic appeal. "O my lord dog," she is reputed to have said, "I am on my way to bear this message to Christians. I beseech thee, my lord dog, do me no harm." With these passionate words, the sound of which, if not the meaning, proved to the dog that she was not hostile, she extended her hand and revealed the paper. The great hound, whose mouth often had been crimson with blood, stopped, peered for a moment into the face of the terrified woman, sniffed her thoroughly, and then lifting a leg, paid her the ultimate canine compliment of dousing her with a stream of urine. Then, with arrogant dignity, he permitted his intended victim to return to the Christians, who had plotted her destruction. Knowing Basidio's rapacious appetite, most of the Spaniards present interpreted his conduct as no less than a manifestation of heavenly intervention. It is certain that the pranksters had been put to shame by the compassion of a hound, and their humiliation was to increase on the arrival of Juan Ponce, who commanded that the aged woman be set free and allowed to return safely to her people, for he declared with chivalric dignity the forbearance, charity, and compassion of a dog must not be permitted to outshine that of a true Christian. Well, we know that these people show no compassion. They show no compassion. So now when they start to see, their kingdom starting to crumble, and now they want us all to come together and feel their pain together and cry for their loss and cry for how the Most High is bringing judgment. This is how I look at them. We will not have it. We will not sit here and all of a sudden now come together, try to come together as a people when you set up an entire society for you, to have, to be over us, for you to enjoy, for you to lie to us. And then now at the end of your reign, wanting us to come together, wanting us to pray for you, wanting us to see, if you can have some kind of compassion. The Most High will have compassion on the ones that he chooses. That has nothing to do with me. The ones that the people that the Most High decides to show compassion to, that's, like I said, above my pay grade. I don't know who that is. I put out the information that he gives me, and then whoever listens and repents and tries to follow the Most High, that's on them, and that's who the Most High calls. But to sit there and think that we're all going to be loving and forgiving and wanting to come together and hold hands, that's done. That's not going to happen for the vast majority. 2/3 of our people, yeah, they will. But they don't know anything. They have no understanding. They still believe in white Jesus, and they still go to church on Sundays with you guys. They have Bible studies and let you teach them what our book says. But over here, we're not having that over here. But with the 2/3, hey, you have fun with that. So they don't know enough to have a conversation about the scriptures anyways. So to think that the Most High is dealing with them either, I said, you're just fooling yourselves. So if you just want, a black or brown person around you, or, you want a Hebrew around you that doesn't know anything just to make you feel better, make you feel like, what you've done or what your ancestors have done is okay, well, go ahead and have that. So you need to have, feel like you are okay and that you don't have to pay or your children have to pay. So you can, so you can sleep well at night. You go right ahead. Okay. But we know when we read Obadiah, you read that book of Obadiah, and you read how you have to pay, for what's done to us is what's going to happen to you. Let me just read a couple of verses from there real fast. Obadiah. Let's see, 1 and 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Let's go to 15. For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. So how you guys have rewarded yourselves with these laws where you've been able to buy these houses and pass down that wealth to your children, and they've been able to live luxuriously. And then us wondering why we struggle so much and why they have it so easy. Same thing's going to happen to you. You're going to have to pay for that, because it says, thy reward shall return upon thine own head. When this system sets up, just because the system says something is legal and says it's okay, doesn't mean the Most High says it thinks it's okay. That's why when a police officer shoots down one of our people, and then they go to court, and then they get exonerated, and they get to go back to their job and back to their life and do the same thing again. Just because Esau says it's okay doesn't mean the Most High says it's okay. Again, thy reward shall return upon thine own head. Anytime we've had jobs where we're up for promotion and they gave it to someone else because of because they wanted to give it to a Gentile. Just remember, thy reward shall return upon thine own head. When one of our children has been shot down, and first thing you do is, well, what was he doing? What did he do to deserve this? Making excuses for, our children being shot down and killed by police officers. Remember, thy reward shall return upon thine own head. The Most High is keeping track of every idle word, every idle thought. So if you're just using, your words and thoughts to justify the ill treatment of his chosen people, just remember, thy reward shall return upon thine own head. If you've known that, you've unjustly benefited from a system that, allowed your parents to buy a property and not ours, and now you're going to reap a whirlwind because you're going to sell that property that's free and clear for hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's blood money. Just know that's blood money for our people being destroyed. In order for you to be able to enjoy that blood money is going to fall now on your head. So just remember, thy reward shall return upon thine own head. Just remember that, Obadiah 1:15. For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. So all the Gentiles, just because you stood around and watched things happen, don't think that that's not going to have a recompense. Because then when things start to happen to you and you want compassion from us, we're just going to stand around and watch things happening to you as well. When you want us to pray for you, because the Most High hears his people, we're just going to stand around and say, oh man, that sucks for you. Just remember that. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. And at this point, if people still seem to think that they still got 20, 30, 40 years of living in this society and enjoying themselves, just remember, thy reward shall return upon thine own head. And you don't have that much time. So I would suggest getting on your knees, praying to the Most High, and asking him what you can do in order to receive some kind of mercy. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.